So I've been watching I've been watching on YouTube quite a few of the controversial parenting tags. They're quite popular at the moment, so I thought I really enjoy watching those, so I thought that I would do my own on my own opinions and thoughts to do with parenting. These are my opinions. They aren't necessarily what you might call right, but this is the way that I do things and this is my thoughts. So yeah. Okay, so the first one is pro-life versus pro-choice. I myself am extremely for pro-choice. The fact that we actually have that privilege to have the choice to do what we want to do. Luckily that it's legal to do. I think it would be really bad if it was made illegal, because people are going to do it no matter what. I personally wouldn't be able to do it myself, have an abortion myself, but I think it's really important that we have the option to choose whether or not we can have an abortion or not. Yeah, so that's my view on the topic. Okay, the next one is baby wearing. I had slings with my two children. I wore them purely for I don't really know. It was the fact that I didn't really want to take a pushchair with me that day, so I put them in a sling. I do plan on baby wearing with this baby, and I do know that there's other slings out there on the market, like the wraps and stuff, which I am looking forward to being able to do. So yeah. Circumcision. Okay, so I'm from the UK and circumcision really isn't a massive deal over here. I've got two boys and this baby is a boy. It's not the done thing over here. In fact, to be honest, I wasn't really aware that over in the United States it was such a big thing. I didn't know that it was like common practice to have your son circumcised. I really did think it was just, I think it's a Jewish thing. For all the, I personally haven't looked into it myself, simply because it's never affected me. I've never had to look into it or make that decision to have my children circumcised. Therefore, you know, it's not a big deal for me. That being said, I wouldn't get my children done. I think like a lot of other YouTube mums, I personally think it's up to the child, up to the boy. It's his body, and I don't have that right to give my permission for a doctor, a surgeon, to chop off a bit of the end of the bit of his penis. It's just, to me, it doesn't make any sense. But that's just my opinion. Okay. Next one is adoption. I think adoption is absolutely brilliant. It is really difficult to adopt, to have to go through the adoption process, especially in this country. I know that it takes a very long time, but I think it is brilliant for those who want to adopt a child, that you can, you know, in all circumstances, you know, you can adopt a baby. I think that's brilliant. Adopting a child, making a child's life better, I think it's brilliant. That's my view anyway. Baby piercing, I think baby piercing is terrible. I think that it is the child's, it's up to the child. Personally, I was 7 or 8, I think I was 8 when I had my ears pierced, which was, I personally think, was the best age. I went and asked for it. I said to my mum, I want my ears pierced, and it was my choice. Having a baby's ears pierced, I just think, I don't agree with it. That's all I'm going to say. Breast milk versus formula. I think they're both great. Obviously we all know that breast is best. I breastfed both of my children. I'm going to be breastfeeding this baby. Formula is there for people who don't want to breastfeed. I think both of them are brilliant. Obviously we know the benefits of breastfeeding, and I don't really think that there needs to be, I need to go too much more into it than that. They both have their benefits, with the fact that the people who can't breastfeed there is formula out there, so there we go. Spanking, over here we'd call it smacking. Okay, so we don't smack, we don't use smacking as a form of punishment in my household. I believe that there are better, and there are other way more other and better methods of discipline than hitting your child. Yeah, we don't really use the spanking or smacking or hitting our children as a form of discipline. We use other methods which we personally think work much better. Next one is co-sleeping. For me, I think co-sleeping is brilliant. With my first son, my husband wasn't with us full time. He lived somewhere else, so it was just me and my son, and it worked really, really well, especially because I was breastfeeding him, and we shared a bed until he was 8 months, and yeah, until he was ready to go into his own cot, and that worked really well for us. And Dylan and I have an unbelievably beautiful bond, and I personally think because of that we have a lovely mother-son relationship. With my second son, he didn't enjoy that. He wasn't a fan of being in bed with me unless he was feeding. He did sleep right next to the bed in his Moses basket, which I guess is a form of co-sleeping. But what I mean with co-sleeping is with the baby in bed with me. He didn't like it, therefore we didn't do it with him. And I do plan on having this baby in bed with me, for the simple reason is that my husband won't be around for a good 6 months after he's born, so I'll be happy for the baby to share a bed with me. But once my husband is home, I don't intend on sharing a bed with the baby like all night. That's what I'm trying to say. But I do find it's an easy thing if you are breastfeeding. Okay, next one is home versus public versus private versus charter school. Okay, so I don't actually know what charter school is. As for the whole private school and the public school, that in this country, in the UK, the word public school is actually the word for private, but I do know what it stands for over here on this tag. Homeschooling isn't a big thing, isn't really a done thing over here. Not a massive. I do know that people do. Personally, my children go to the local school, and which would be called a public school if you were in the United States, and I don't have a problem with it. I think their school is really good. I do think that it depends on which school you choose, and as long as you're involved in the school and I mean, personally, I don't think that there's any problem with it. I think that's probably all I'll say on the matter. I don't have a problem with the private school. If we could afford it, we would send our children probably to private school. Being a military family, we are entitled to getting private education paid for us, or a very large percentage of it paid for us, but that would mean that our children would actually have to board, and I don't agree with that. So the local school is good enough for my children, and they absolutely love it, and they are both doing very, very well. Okay, next one is vaccinations. I don't have any problem with vaccinations. The only one which we did sort of stop and maybe talk about was the MMR. That's the measles, mumps and rubella vaccine, which is done when they're about 15 months, but we did go ahead and do it, and there is lots of controversy on the fact that it could cause autism and bad side effects. Anyway, we went ahead and did it. I personally don't think that that's linked, however lots of people think it is, and both of my children were fine, and yeah, they're all up to date. Their last ones were the preschool jabs, and my 5-year-old is asthmatic, and he is now awaiting his flu jab. Next one is medicating children. I personally think that is terrible. With the whole ADHD and ADD, medicating them. I also saw a programme about children, like 8-year-olds who suffer depression, and they are on loads and loads of drugs. I think it is terrible. I personally think there are other ways of dealing with these things than drugging your children, and I'm not talking about like small drugs. I'm talking about like they are on a lot of pills, these people. This was this documentary I watched, and I thought it was absolutely terrible. you know, I mean, like I mentioned, my 5-year-old is asthmatic, so he has inhalers. You know, what's needed is needed, but I don't agree with the whole going on medication for these things which there's not enough research done in this subject. Cloth versus disposable diapers. Over here we call them nappies. With my other two we use disposables. With this baby we are planning on using cloth as well. Mainly cloth nappies. I'm really looking forward to using them, and yeah, I think they both have their benefits, and yeah, the cry it out method. So I don't agree with leaving your child to cry and cry and cry. I don't believe that's what the actual cry out method is. I don't know too much about the subject, but I also don't agree with as soon as your baby starts crying and getting a little cranky, you rush to their side. It's fine for a baby to cry a little bit. I would never leave my baby to cry for over a certain amount of time. I think that's cruel. But I can see there's pros and cons in both of them. You know, sometimes the baby has to get used to the fact that mummy isn't going to be there as soon as they want mummy to be there. But yeah, I personally won't be using the cry out method, but whatever floats your boat. Okay, so that's all. Thanks for watching, and bye.